All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Monty and Murdy College Football Show, and we're both here for y'all, man. We had a little 2-week hiatus. One of us, one week or 2 of the weeks, there was a little scheduling conflict, and then the second week I had done a solo pod, but unfortunately one of our editors got sick. Kind of cool that we can say we got an editor now, but yeah, he got sick, so he wasn't able to actually get the episode recorded and uploaded that day that week. So we decided to put it off till this week. We're gonna come at y'all fresh with a college football week 12 recap. But Monty, before I do, what's up, man?
What's going on? Yeah, I guess I forgot that the solo never ended up making it, so it ends up working out pretty well. I was going to because I'm sure many people out there were probably thinking, man, I was taking a break from the OU Tennessee final, but
Shameful.
no, it's
shameful.
So I will address that. I will address that game just briefly. I mean, obviously the final score 33-27. That was 2 weeks ago now, right? There was one guy, I believe, said if Tennessee lost, I would have to take down the sign behind me. I never agreed to that, so we're not gonna do that. But no, I mean, yeah, it's that game. I mean, it was what it was. It looked like pretty early on Tennessee might have been able to run away with it, but it just didn't happen. And OU found their footing definitely in the second half, but the defense kind of were able to keep them in it. And then I mean, that defense, man, it's a scary defense. I wasn't disappointed per se in the offense. I was a little disappointed in the turnover ordeal, but when a lot of Tennessee fans want to get on Joey Aguilar about that, but if you watch OU games, which most of our audience as of right now does, man, that defense just causes turnovers. And we'll talk about that in this episode with the Week 12 recap when it comes to the OU Bama game. But yeah, so, Tennessee fans can be frustrated with it. I was obviously frustrated watching that game. We don't like losing to Neyland, and it happened. But win some, you lose some. Since joining the SEC, OU and Tennessee haven't beaten each other in their home stadiums yet. So
Nope.
Seems like it's kind of growing a cool little, I mean, I know we're not going to, Tennessee, you won't be playing each other every year, but it's kind of cool little rivalry. I mean, both fan bases get along actually pretty well compared to others. So
actually stick their necks out for one another. It's kind of a weird dynamic.
It's a weird dynamic. Tennessee and OU, they kind of like stand up for each other in the SEC.
Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
It's like it reminds you of brothers or something like that,
Yeah, so you got that one, and then I think I've mentioned in a past episode about Tennessee and Oregon, weirdly, but no, I mean it is what it is. We're 2 weeks removed. Obviously, Tennessee had a bye off that, and then we won't talk about this game because there's not a whole lot, but 42-9 victory over New Mexico State this past week, Week 12. So it's good bounce back. Obviously, you had to bask in the OU loss in the bye week, but which always sucks losing going into a bye. But finding our footing again. Huge last 2 games, which we'll talk about we'll talk about one of them, or maybe briefly. You might mention it in the Week 13 preview episode, but yeah, I mean it's very realistic that Tennessee goes 7-5, as well as very realistic they go 9-3. So we'll see, but we can move on now that I addressed that.
We addressed the OU Tennessee game after I know that one had been held in suspense for a while there. So yeah, exciting game. It was if you're not a fan of either one of the teams, then I'm sure it was a great game to watch. If you're a fan of either one of those teams,
it was stressful.
That was freaking cardiac arrest in Neyland. Like, it was insane. But yeah, I get to hold a little bit of pride in the pod, so I'll carry that until I get a little bit because we're not playing next season. So
yeah, man, when's the next time Tennessee OU plays? I haven't looked. I know we play. Tennessee plays Texas next year.
Yeah, they kind of flopped
Neyland. So
they did kind of with us in Texas. They did so like we played a slate of SEC teams, and then Texas played one, and then we did that home and away. So we swapped with both of them, and then this next year we'll be going home and away with the other group.
Yeah. So 1-1. OU's 0-1 in Norman, and
Mhm.
Tennessee's 0-1 in Knoxville. So
Yeah, exciting stuff. So let's go ahead and dive in, y'all. We had a exciting week 12 with a bunch of big games on it. We're going to start off not actually with the OU game. We're going to dive into Notre Dame versus Pitt. Was kind of a surprising. Pitt kind of snuck into the top 25, like, right before this game was like their appearance. Once they went to, I think they got to 7-2. Right before this game, but really it just started off. I mean, I had said going into this one, I know I didn't record it. I picked Notre Dame to win this game. I did record it. There is a recording of it. It just didn't get uploaded, but I picked Notre Dame to win this game.
I think there is a text message that I picked Notre Dame too, but I can't remember.
Yeah, and man, it just started. Notre Dame kind of jumped on them from the start, and after that, it was just downhill. I don't think Notre Dame really tried to stress it too much. They're able to do so much with Jeremiah Love that, man, when you got him in the backfield, I mean, it really makes it really easy to hold on to leads, if that makes sense. If Notre Dame jumps out on you, it's really tough. It's really easy for them to just hand the ball off to probably the best running back in the country, and just continue to hold leads, continue to move the ball down the field, eat up clock, and I think Notre Dame got to a point where they were comfortable with this thing, and then Pitt just scored. They got 12 points in the second. 12 of their points were in the second half. Just overall solid win for Notre Dame. One of their better wins of the season. Just a really dominant performance on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively.
Yeah, no, I mean this one. I watched this one, and yeah, I don't know. It never really was a game to begin with. I mean, yeah, Notre Dame, like you said, jumped out on them pretty early, 14-0 in the first quarter, and then I think once they took that 2-possession lead, it was kind of like, yeah, and I mean, and it showed. Right, Jeremiah Love finished with 147 yards, on 23 carries. So when you have a game like that, and it's difficult to stop a run game like Notre Dame's, and plus Notre Dame, I think, is kind of doing what they did last year. You see them kind of coming into their own towards the end of the season, which is what you want for any team when you have a chance at the playoffs. So, and that's kind of what they're doing. I was surprised that this game was game day, to be completely honest with you. When you had the Texas Georgia game, I get, maybe game day's been kind of getting some slack on the SEC bias and stuff like that, and Big Ten, whatever. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I didn't really expect this game to be. Well, I guess I did expect this game to be what it was. I didn't expect it to be much of a fight. I was hopeful, that you'd get a game out of it, but wasn't holding my breath. Yeah, I mean, they dominated the run game. Notre Dame did. Malachi Fields had a nice little game, 7 receptions, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, with the Notre Dame defense also kind of peaking at the right time, right? They're kind of all collectively run game defense. They held Pitt to 219 yards of total offense. So it was just, I mean, Mason Heinschel, a new freshman, true freshman quarterback for Pitt, had his freshman moment this game. Eli Holstein actually ended up coming in to play, and I think it was just an overall kind of bad game for Pitt. But again, kind of where Notre Dame is at in this part of the year compared to last year, it's very similar. So it's Notre Dame's kind of they're getting to be maybe, more of a buzzsaw towards the end of this. I won't say they are a buzzsaw yet, but they're getting to that point where they can make a run again. So
yeah, and I think a lot of this one's going to be made out of, do you remember Pitt's head coaches? You remember seeing that his comments like going into this one, like how he weighs this and how he feels about this game. He's like, it doesn't really matter. It's not an ACC game. I don't care.
If we lose 110-10 or something like that, I
Yeah,
believe
exactly.
is what the number was.
He's like, he doesn't care, and I'm like, well,
yeah. Pat Narduzzi is the head coach. Yeah, you see that as football guys, like the message that he's trying to put out there, like it's
that
saying
if
like,
we lose,
like, because of the playoff, like only conference games matter. Like the conversation the past couple of years has been like, conference games matter the most. So I think that's kind of the message he was probably trying to put out there. But as a player under him, if you're coach leading up to a Notre Dame, probably the biggest game of their season, right? And you hear your coach go, this one doesn't matter. It's like, all right, well, and then of course, as a Notre Dame player, Oh, they don't care if we beat them 110-10. Well, let's go do that then.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go see.
And
then,
so,
but I mean, I think his argument is just that. I mean, Pitt's still in the ACC. I mean, they're 5-1 in the ACC, so like they're still available for an
right.
ACC championship.
So in theory, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, he might have been right in theory, but in reality, Notre Dame's a playoff team. If the playoff committee is trying to decide on who to, take, whether it's an ACC, so say Pitt, somehow wins the ACC for hypothetical purposes, right? And then they're trying to decide between the Big 12 champion and the ACC champion, who's making it in, just like I said, hypothetical, or one of those group of 5 champions, right?
Yeah.
And
Because I mean, there's possible, JMU sitting out there, and then you also got the American with all their chaos.
yeah, and so you have that, and you don't want to be at the end of the season, Pitt wins the ACC and then be left out because they look back at the Notre Dame game. They're like, well, Notre Dame's number 8. They're the 8 seed or 7 seed or whatever in the playoff, and you got your ass kicked.
Yeah, we'd probably rather put JMU and North Texas
just to see because you never know, right? So
never know.
Yeah. I didn't agree with his comments. I knew the point he was trying to make, which in theory he's not wrong, but it was the wrong way to say it.
Yeah. And so one thing I just want to touch on before we get out, how do you feel about Notre Dame in the playoffs? You kind of already mentioned that they're kind of building into that buzzsaw, or you said you're not going to quite put them there yet. I know a lot has been made out of their strength of their schedule, right? There's a lot of debate going on of, what matters more. Does your losses matter? Does your quality wins matter? Or is it kind of a accumulation of both? And I think how the committee's looking at it is just, they're looking at it from a perspective kind of how me and you would, right? Like if we were going to pick a game between these teams, who are we picking? And, you can go off the stuff of, metric based to help you kind of make your decisions or make those determinations. But I mean, I think they're just kind of going off of, hey, what are we seeing from Notre Dame right now versus what we saw early in the season? And I think most people can agree that this is a better Notre Dame team right now than what it was at the beginning of the season. That's quite why you're getting the result that Notre Dame's ranked where they are.
Yeah. And the thing is also, with Notre Dame, I'm me, I don't believe in quality losses, right? Like a loss is a loss. It's on your schedule, right? I'm very anti your record says what you are, your record. Yeah. Whatever your record is what it is, right? That's what your team is. I don't agree with that. That's the NFL. That's not college football. And I don't believe in quality losses, but you do have to take it with a grain of salt. So they started the season. What were they, 1-2, right?
Yeah, 1-2 with losses to A&M and Miami.
Right, and at the time, Miami was kind of like better than what they are now, or at least higher ranked than what they are now.
They were,
and then A&M was slightly behind where they are now. So you have those 2 losses. You go, okay, well, they already lost 2 games, and so then Notre Dame was like, okay, that they're not what they were last year. Right. But then as the season goes on, and obviously they haven't lost a game since those 2. And so as the committee's probably going like, well, I mean, those are the only 2 games that they've lost to, the now number 3 team in the country and the 15th ranked team in the country now. It's like, as the committee, that's probably what they're looking at. And so if they're 10-2 at the end of this thing, it's like, that's why they always say if you lose, you want to lose at the beginning of the season because you can work your way up. It looks better at the end of the season. So if they win 10
you've
straight,
been on this long of a winning streak. See how much they're improving, or whatever the case.
Yeah. So yes, I think your question was, do I think that they are a playoff team? Yeah, absolutely. Because then if you think about it, so take an OU fan, do you want to play Notre Dame in the first round, or would you rather play, a Tulane or I don't know, even a Michigan, right? If assuming they were to beat, or USC. Like I would rather play probably USC for other reasons, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like I wouldn't want to play Notre Dame right now.
No. I mean, right now the mock-up is it's OU Notre Dame round 1 in Norman.
Oh, so there you go. I was just saying as a hypothetical, but
that is the mock-up for like this week because they're the 8-9 seed.
But OU or whoever, like I wouldn't want to play Notre Dame right now, and I think that's kind of what they're looking at. It's like the full makeup of the team at this current moment. It's like, so when the first rankings came out, that's why they were up there, and then they've continued. They haven't done anything necessarily to move them. I think they ended up getting passed by y'all or by OU, which that's neither here nor there for Notre Dame fans. But I mean, when you beat Alabama, who seemed utterly perfect since their loss, it was impressive. But we'll talk about that game. So yeah,
right,
I think Notre
now.
Oh yeah. Actually, it is the next. It is actually the next game. I think Notre Dame is that they haven't shown anything, to me that they wouldn't be.
No, yeah, I agree. I think
they should be in a conference, but
they should be in a conference, and I don't think it's just we're gonna get to the point if we don't separate it. You're not rewarding. You're punishing teams for playing these difficult schedules. Right now is what it is, right? Because if you can go and play, Notre Dame where they played. I guess they had 4 ranked matchups and they lost 2 of them. Or you go play a schedule like OU's where it's like it seems like for the whole past since Texas, the Texas game, it's been a ranked team every freaking week. There's another one this week, and you obviously already had the Michigan game as well, and it's like you play a schedule like that, and you're looking at it. It's like OU takes another loss, they're out, but it's they just put themselves in so many positions to play those games where eventually you're going to lose one. It's tough to go win, especially in road environments against these really good teams. So, the whole argument about whether the SEC should go to 9 conference games, I completely understand wanting to stay at 8, like a lot of the coaches do. But just because it's right now the system's not set up to reward a schedule like that.
Yeah, well, and the thing is too about that. We can talk for
that's off season conversation.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like you have if you go to that 9 the 9 SEC conference games, it's like if I were a head coach, those first 3 games would absolutely be a New Mexico State, a La Tech, because take what and this is no slight to Ohio State, it's just kind of how their schedule worked early on this season, but it's and including Big Ten games, just humor me. It's how they've kind of worked their team up to this point, kind of get like Julian's saying, getting him up to speed where now he's a Heisman, one of the Heisman hopefuls. It's like, I would want my first 3 games in the SEC to be, very easy non-conference, kind of get the feet wet for my players. And then, so when it comes to the conference games, you have some experience under you, especially for younger guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. But let's not waste any more time on it. We got some off season. We'll save it for an off season topic. Just go ahead and bookmark that one. Let's dive into, we already touched on it. OU traveled to Tuscaloosa and escaped with a 23-21. I don't know if I want to say escaped is the word. They managed to get a 23-21 win over Alabama, because OU was in the lead for, most of this game. Once Alabama obviously or OU had the pick 6, took it up or early field goal, pick 6, like running it up, had an early lead, and then you just kind of saw the OU offense. They kind of went to a reserve kind of shell. They were almost playing not to lose the game, relying on their defense, and it almost cost them. Alabama ended up taking the lead in the third quarter there, but how do I say this? So the critical turnovers, right? That's what when I talked about it because I did a preview episode, so I previewed this one. I picked OU to win here. I
did not know that. I would have thought you took Bama, but
it's in there. If y'all don't believe me, I can release the tape, and I'm telling you, I picked OU to win this game. And I really picked them with the spread.
What made you pick OU? Obviously you were correct, but I'm just curious what made you, because I feel like when it comes to these matchups, like the Tennessee one, for example, you seem to be pretty
hesitant to pick, right?
Pessimistic when it comes to outcomes of big games on the road for OU.
So I really like the matchup, if that makes sense. With
which
Bama,
a lot of people did.
Right, yeah, that was more how it was. Is I thought the OU defense presented some strengths to where they could force Ty Simpson into a couple mistakes. I know he hadn't made any all year. Well, I guess this was the most turnovers he's had it, he had more in this game than he had all in all the other games. Just because I think the defensive line played really well. Even without our Mason Thomas, we didn't have possibly our best player on our team, even on the field. But what he was able to do, what Brent Middles was able to scheme up to kind of confuse Ty Simpson. You caught. I mean, it was a touchdown that Bama ended up getting in the second quarter there. That Ty Simpson had thrown a pick just right before it in the end zone. But he got called back for defensive pass interference. Not going to go here or there on officiating. Just it's what happened.
We don't talk about officiating.
Yeah, we don't talk about officiating. It's what happened. And then you also had the pick six, and they had
for the most part,
strip sack fumble, and so like what they were able to do schematically to limit Ty Simpson, to present him with some difficulties. I mean, he threw it to a lot of OU defensive backs, more so than what he's shown to. Now, granted, did Alabama still get theirs? Absolutely. I said that in the preview episode. Alabama's still going to get theirs. They're too talented, especially at the skill position spots. Ty Simpson's way too good at reading the field for them to not be able to execute, move the ball downfield. But what OU was able to do is what I said they needed to do. They needed to limit Alabama, limit their opportunities to score. If Alabama's moving the ball down the field, you don't care. They had difficulties kicking the football. OU blocked a punt or blocked a field goal. If you want to say blocked, it's kind of more like a nick. I think he was missing it anyway. But
you said something there that I just want to touch on because that's a note I have. So before we
go
move
ahead.
on, just because you mentioned that Alabama was able to get theirs kind of, I guess, in between the 20s, right?
Right.
Because I noted, so Ty Simpson, he threw for 326 yards, but he only threw for one touchdown and an interception. So it was like, yes. So and Alabama's offense is actually way more one-dimensional. They're just really good at that one dimension, throwing the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that. That's kind of OU's defense's MO, is that, when you look at the stat sheet the past 2 weeks, the Tennessee game, or I say 2 weeks, but the Tennessee game and the Bama game, if you look just at the stats with no score and you say who won this game to somebody, they'd be like, oh, well, that team, Tennessee or Alabama. Because if you look at the stats side to side, Alabama had more yards, outright, and yet it's like somehow they just get down and dirty. OU just gets down and dirty, and they just don't let them score. So that was just the one thing I wanted to say.
I think that also there's also a part of that comes down to how the teams play or how the defense is structured. Both Alabama, both Tennessee. Tennessee's a little bit more balanced on offense. Alabama, they don't really care to run the ball. But what OU's really good at is run defense. And, they have some gaps in their secondary. You can get some yardage on them. But when you get to the red zone area, right, now you're playing in a condensed field. So now your zones and your zone coverage are that much tighter and everything's that much closer together to where that run defense can really take advantage of you. And I think that's how they're able to limit opportunities. So, instead of scoring touchdown, you kick a field goal. Or if you're Alabama with your kicking woes, you miss a field goal, or, whatever the case. And it turns out to be the difference in the game.
That's why you kick. That's why you kick them, though. I mean, Tennessee missed the one against Georgia to win the game. So it's like hindsight's 20/20, but that's why you kick them.
That's why you kick them. Overall, I think OU is going to need a lot more from their offense. I want to touch on their offensive production. They're going to need more from John Batir. They're going to need more from their running backs. They're going to need more from their wide receivers if OU wants to make the kind of run they got. And they got another tough matchup this week. I mean, not shocking, OU fans. There's another ranked team that OU's freaking matching up against. So, shocker. We knew this coming into the year, right?
I was going to say that, like, you knew this was going to be the case this season, even before it happened. It's just the only difference is you're sitting at what, 8-2?
8-2, yep.
Which that's very impressive.
With no real leeway, though. It's like, you're 8-2, but you're the 8th ranked team, so you're only, 2 spots from being out of the playoff. So no real leeway there. Kind of bunch of we said going in, right? The game in Knoxville, we're like, hey, that's a playoff elimination game.
And it was.
OU managed it. And then last week going into this one, I said, hey, this is another playoff elimination game. And it was. And OU managed it. And then now we're going into Missouri. This is a playoff elimination game. By the time OU gets to the playoff, they're going to have played freaking 5 playoff games by the time they even show up there.
Yeah, well, once you hit that 2-loss mark, I mean, it is basically it's elimination from here on out. I mean,
Notre Dame's been doing it since week 3.
I was just about to say Notre Dame's played like 7 playoff games already.
Yeah,
but no, that's kind of how it works. You know, unless there is precedent at some point. Which, I mean, I think now at this point, if OU were to drop another one, you would have the argument. But the problem is that's Mizzou and LSU, and it's just like, had you lost the Alabama game, which they didn't, so that's good for them, that probably would have been the one, and then they won out, I'd be like, yeah, that 9-3 team could be in.
Yep.
That would be. So now at this point, beating Alabama, I think that now you definitely have to win out.
Yeah, you definitely got to win out. Gonna need more from John Mateer. I think the offense did kind of go into kind of a shell of itself. Like I said, they had a lead, and I think that's when Brent Venables gets a lead, that's just what we've seen from his coaching tendencies. Is he's gonna, he's like, hey, let's manage our lead. Rely on our defense. We'll get good punt yardage here, and give them a long field, and that's kind of the games you end up working your way into just because of how much faith is in that defense. But I think we're definitely going to need to see an explosive side of OU if they want to get to where they want to go, obviously, and make a playoff. I think they're going to need more explosive against here Missouri and definitely against LSU, both those teams are very good on the defensive side of the ball. So going to need a lot from them. That's really all I got on the OU Bama game.
Yeah, I mean, you covered basically everything. Yeah, I was going to say. I mentioned, the OU defense being able to create the turnovers, and I think that's the main reason. That's the main reason why the stat line. I mean, the stat line doesn't ever look like OU won a game yet. They're 2-0 in the last.
No, they're like games, they're like minus 300 in yardage in SEC play or something.
But I will say, yeah, I agree with you that they need a little bit more out of John Mateer. But I was shocked. I just saw his before we started the show. I was shocked because I saw his stat line for this season, and he's got 2,000 yards passing, which that's not anything to be worried about. But he's only got 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I was like, I did not realize.
Yeah, no,
I did not realize. He's just not really. Granted, he was hurt, but I was surprised with he was under 10.
Yeah, I think it's he's hurt, and then it's not an excuse, but like the opponents have just been brutal. It's just. Yeah, it's like every week you're in one of these freaking fourth quarter grind games against a really good football team. Good news is if OU makes the playoff, they're going to have a lot of tape study, a lot of teams there because they already played them this year. So they'll have a lot of good tape study there to review and figure out improvements. Let's dive into the next game. We're running a little long here on the recap episode. We got USC and Iowa. I picked USC in this one. I think they were just going to be able to kind of they were just a little too good on the offensive side of the ball, and they were already able to play. You already saw USC play bully ball, go into one of these dogfight games that Iowa's going to make you play. And you saw them do it with Michigan, able to get a win there. And they had a fourth quarter comeback. Iowa looked like they had this one sealed up. But
comeback.
USC managed to come back in the third and fourth quarter. Not like tremendous, comeback. It wasn't like super dramatic fashion. It was kind of how you come back against Iowa, if that makes sense. Like you score with
it's an Iowa game.
13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, I mean, no, I was very impressed with USC. You mentioned the Michigan game, but it's when you're playing in a nasty, wet game against Iowa, that's just not who you want to play in those games.
No,
normally they're pretty good. Normally they win those games unless it's against Iowa State, because Iowa State also plays those games. But Iowa's now 0-2 against West Coast teams in these games. I was impressed with Oregon, but Oregon's Oregon. They're very talented. More talented probably across the board than USC is this year, but I was very impressed with USC this game. Just yes, they kind of came back, but they still were able to win this game. And it was another like perfect Iowa game, just nasty, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned USC was kind of able to play Iowa's game like Oregon did, which is not something that you see from Lincoln Riley.
No, I mean
or USC historically, but especially Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley
but-
OU teams lose this kind of game. That's what they do. They lose this. I used to watch Iowa State beat them in freaking, I think it was 2017, in a game similar to this. Kind of brought them into the mud, that sort of thing. And it's impressive that he's been able to find a little grit for this USC football team to be able to win these games.
I think with this offseason, when he kind of cleared house on his defensive staff, kind of got a new defensive staff, the defense has kind of turned it around this year compared to, Lincoln Riley-esque defenses, but USC historical defenses in general. Recent history, I should say. No, it was an overall impressive win by USC. And, Jaden Maava he was still able to throw the rock pretty well. He had about like 250 yards, 256 yards, I believe, through the air.
Something like that.
And I think it helps a lot, with having Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane on the outside, on the perimeter for him. So, yeah, impressive win. We'll talk about the USC Oregon game in the next week, week 13, but it's got to preface
playoff elimination vibes.
Yes, but also, well, for USC and potentially Oregon, but they got one loss.
I'd say Oregon too.
There's an argument
with that schedule.
But another thing also is that the weather as of today, the weather projection in Eugene is it's similar to the rainy, wet, just like what Oregon was able to do against Iowa and USC was able to do against Iowa. So we'll talk about that one in the next episode. But no, USC, I was very impressed with a win against Iowa in a rainy environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Trojans continue to fight on towards a hopeful playoff chance. Just gotta win this week, and we'll touch on that in the preview episode. Let's dive into the last Power 4 matchup we got. We got to touch on it. Georgia, BTA, Texas.
Belt to ass. Yeah.
Belt to ass, Texas.
Yeah, this game was I mean, Georgia's peaking at the right time, right?
Right. Yeah. This is the best version of Georgia we've seen all year, was right here.
Yeah. And defensively as well, but Gunnar Stockton, I mean, it was all around, like you said, best version of Georgia we've seen, I think, thus far this year. And, it felt like everyone kind of knew that Texas wasn't, the Texas that we've seen the past couple years, but they still only had the 2 losses. So people were like kind of holding their breath, and it's still Sark, and you just don't know. Then they seemed like Arch and company on the offensive side kind of found their rhythm. I even said that they might have.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, they kind of thought maybe this wasn't that Texas team. And then, Georgia was like, yeah, no, they're not.
Yeah, no. We'll answer it definitively.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, peaking at the right time. Gunnar Stockton, 4 touchdowns in the air. Georgia's defense, 23 total rushing yards given up this game. In all 3 matchups since Texas has been in the SEC that they've played, they have rushed for 80 yards total combined in all 3 games.
That's tough. And have you seen the little circle of since OU and Texas joined the SEC, it's the little circle of defeated. So OU can't beat Texas. Texas can't beat Georgia.
Yes, I did. No,
Georgia can't beat Bama, and Bama can't beat OU.
Yeah, no, I did see that. I was actually I saw it and I was like, man, I wish Tennessee had beaten OU because then that could have been in there. But
yeah, yeah, the parity circle. What is SEC football? But yeah, Georgia, I think it's the best defensive performance that we've seen from.
I don't know if we said the final score either. 35-10. I don't know. If
35. Yeah, we didn't. 35-10. Georgia won. Big game from Gunnar Stockton. Texas, they had shown some issues early in the season of not being able to run the ball. Those kind of flared their head again as they were asking Arch to throw for 43 times. Granted, that was because most of the time they were down in this game, especially in that second half as Georgia started to really pull away. So you're getting a bunch of drop back passers trying to get the ball downfield. But yeah, I mean, big fourth quarter from Georgia. I mean, they put up freaking 21 points just to completely choke the life out of them. What seemed like a very close game as Texas scored there with 5 to go in the third quarter. Make it a 10-14 game. You thought, maybe a chance. We'll see. And then Georgia said, nah, turn the lights off in the fourth quarter there in Athens. So, yeah, best version of Georgia we've seen. Talk about peaking at the right time. We mentioned it with Notre Dame. This Georgia team is peaking at the right time going into, as they still are, I think they're still outside of the SEC championship game. But
they are. There's a weird... as long as Alabama wins out, I believe it's still A&M and Bama. But there's like a weird thing where Georgia can still make it in, but we won't talk about that yet.
Yeah, we won't talk about it yet. But I will mention, I don't even know if I'm Georgia, if I even want to play in the SEC championship game.
That's the dichotomy of it all when it comes to this 12-team playoff, man. It's
if you can be in and stay outside of it, that might be the way.
Well, and because the thing is now with Georgia specific. Now doing this to Texas with their specific where they are. So they're currently, I believe, the 4 seed in the playoffs. So that means that if Alabama wins out, I believe it's if Alabama wins out, Bama and A&M would play for the SEC championship in Atlanta. So then Georgia would sit that out, and then they would get a first round bye in the playoffs.
Crazy that's the way that's broken. That's what that is. It's broken.
And well, yes. And then they get the first round bye, and I believe I would have to go back to what the bracket projection is right now, but I think as it stands, they would play the winner of Tulane, Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken. I got it. Let me go look here real quick.
What a draw. Out of whenever it's projecting, like Ohio State has to play the winner of Notre Dame and OU, or if you got Georgia, who's the 4 seed, they can pick between Texas Tech and Tulane, or the winner of that game. Probably Tech, if we're being honest. But
yeah. Okay, no, that's a different thing. Yeah, but I believe the thing that I saw was Georgia had a pretty good draw, and so yeah. It's again, that's another thing we can talk about.
Off-season. Off-season talk. We got plenty of stuff coming for y'all in the off-season. One thing, you good on Georgia, Texas, dominant Georgia win. Texas still outside shots at the playoff. I think if they'd have played this one a little closer, then you might be able to give them a little more credit. Say they go in and get a win versus A&M, but they're probably outside.
I think they're eliminated now with how many potential 10-2 teams we're gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just there's gonna be too many 10-2s, barring anything crazy. That I don't think a 9-3 is gonna make it this year. I think that the only, like I said, I believe I said this a couple weeks ago.
The only 9-3,
OU and Florida, and then Florida would, obviously they might go the opposite way. So
yeah. So we got one more game for y'all to touch on. Just a quick recap. USF lost to Navy. Kind of surprisingly, it's the only prediction I got wrong on my little preview episode that I did solo. Was this one?
I believe I picked Navy too. Weirdly,
did you?
Yeah, and that's despite common belief. Yeah, I know. I was big on goalish, but I was like, man, Navy's due.
Yeah, Blake Horvath ended up being a bigger deal than what I thought. It was questionable whether or not he was going to play in this game. Obviously, he missed the game versus Notre Dame. And, man, turns out the guy who runs your offense, I guess he is kind of a big deal because this Navy team showed up. Now, granted, USF made a run at it late. However, it's just Navy's one of those teams, man, you can't dig yourself in a hole. Because if you dig yourself in a hole early and Navy starts getting the lead, now they're playing with the lead, they can play keep away, limit your possessions, and you're only going to have so many opportunities to get back in that football game just because of how they're able to move the ball. They can get like, hey, first down, 3 yards, perfect. Second down, 3 yards. Third down, 3 yards.
Well, this was the Navy team I thought I was going to see against North Texas. That's why I picked them to beat North Texas earlier on. And, North Texas obviously ended up winning that game.
Mean Green, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, but this game, I guess they ended up, that version of Navy that I thought I was going to see ended up showing up this time around, 41 points. I mean, I thought that was gonna be what they did against North Texas. But it seems like the USF. It seems like USF that like they have the goalish offense clicking, right? Which that's
I mean, there's over 1,000 yards in this game.
Yes, yep, exactly. And so the goalish offense was obviously clicking, but the defense, it just seems like they have a very weak pulse against a lot of these teams. Because USF offense, they had a total of 556 yards of offense, right?
Crazy.
And you mentioned 556, and there was over 1,000 yards of total offense. So you can imagine 338 yards on the ground from Navy. That's fairly normal when it comes to their wins. No. Navy had 186 yards through the air. And that they were able to play keep away because they not only ran for 300, that's pretty standard. 186, almost 200 yards in the air for Navy.
Insane.
524 yards total. Yeah. No, it was that I think that was probably the difference maker was their air game.
Yeah, and I think part of what you saw in this one was, USF, whenever they played it, when they matched up against UNT, they were able to get a bunch of turnovers, especially early in that second half, that just really flipped the script in their favor. And, they ended up pulling out to a dominant win here. Whereas in this game, USF's the only one who committed turnover. Navy played clean ball. They played Navy football. Like, that's what, if you put it on a poster, that is what Navy wants to do, is exactly what they did to USF. They were able to run the football, 330 yards and create a turnover, give themselves another one-shot advantage, and then they just built a lead that USF wasn't able to come back to. I actually quit watching this game, I think, in like the third quarter is whenever I switched off of it, just because I was like, Navy was up so much. I'm like, oh, USF's not going to be able to come back. I think it was right before USF ended up scoring in the third quarter there. Yeah, so like pretty much right at halftime is when I stopped. And I was like, yeah, Navy's up 24-9 going into half. I watched a little bit kickoff, then I switched off the game. And USF made a run, but it's just Navy's, if they're going to be able to run the football successfully, you're going to have a tough time coming back on them, just because of how they're able to possess the ball. So huge win for Navy. USF probably takes away your playoff chances there.
Looking like a potential Navy Tulane, maybe what is it? North Texas.
They still in it, baby. They got the one
loss.
loss.
They are. Don't forget about Navy though.
That's one of the best offenses in the country right there. Eric Morris and Drew Mestamaker slinging that thing. But yeah, you got anything else on that one, man? Or are we good?
I do not have anything left on that one. No.
Cool. Well, we left y'all with it was kind of funny. We left y'all with our last episode, 2 weeks ago, was really our most productive week with the podcast. Like, the show reached kind of like its new peak. And then of course, right after that, we fall off for a second. So
yeah, I was pretty pissed. I was pretty ticked off at myself about that one, but
it's all right, man. It's got life. We're not getting paid from this sucker yet. So, but we love doing it. Unfortunately, life gets in the way a little bit. So we appreciate y'all for bearing with us. As always, man, subscribe to the show. Listen, follow it wherever you listen to podcasts, and tell your friends about it, man. It's the best way to spread the show here. So we appreciate y'all always for tuning in, listening to us, hearing us get a little college football back and forth. And we will catch y'all next week, or on the next episode. We're about to do it here, the preview episode. So we'll catch y'all on that one. And until then, y'all, peace.